if you take a look at my Agora.gg profile, you will see FaZe has been an interesting hero for me as a support main. I love any support hero, but for some reason, I'm having a bit of trouble with her. Her telekinetic link, I'm having a tough time really kind of recasting it. It's getting buggy. I don't know who I have it on. I don't see that it's linked. I'm having a bit of trouble. But the build, I think, is actually really quite fantastic. It's serving its purpose quite well when I need it. Here, guys, in this video, we're taking a look at FaZe in a build that I've called Ghost in the Shell. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a hero build and guide. I am Sylphin. So, we have the build Ghost in the Shell. The reference to a recent movie. Check it out. Actually, I haven't seen it, but looks really good. So, of course, the Centurion is a prime card because you need to be tanky. In the early game, you start with your Guardian's Ward for the dummy ward. Go place that. Come back and get the Circlet of Health. We'll explain why later. After you get the Circlet of Health, next three points, you come in and get your Lord's Ward. Don't upgrade it. After that, you have some options. You can fully upgrade your Circlet of Health, or go into the Gift of the Rains. After this Gift of the Rains, you then can go you can then go into your Circlet of Health. It's kind of up to you. I would prefer to upgrade the Circlet of Health. What you kind of have to decide whether you need this Quenching Scales. If you do, get it. If you do, get it, because, well, you're the support. You need to have that healing for the rest of your team. If there's lots of team fights, towers are down, etc., then get this Quenching Scales. After that, you have some options in the early game. You go for another Gift of the Rains. You get an Overflowing Gifts if you got a lot of CP and you just need another AoE heal. You go for a Teleblink if you're feeling really kind of ballsy and you can make some plays happen with some Teleblinks into pulls and stuff. This is an option. And those three are kind of really kind of the options here with another Gift of the Rains as well. Then you kind of go into the end game build here. You have Cast Converter. You have Barrier of Will. Definitely the two cards I would definitely really try to focus on getting next. Then you have your Thermal Bond for some great sustain, just because taking out FaZe is a high priority. They need to control you with crowd control to take you out, so Thermal Bond really works well to counteract that. Then you have some damage here, some really cool potential with Tainted Magic. We'll talk about that later. And of course, then all the upgrades on your Lord's Ward with all of that health for tankiness. Final build here is Thermal Bond, Barrier of Will, Tainted Magic, Cast Converter, Quenching Scales, and the Lord's Ward. Now, here in the early game, we put down our dummy ward, preferably right about here. As you can see in the minimap, right in that fork. It really helps where the jungler usually ends up rotating through to kind of set up those ganks. So put that dummy ward right about there, as that's a really, really good spot for that. Now, here in the early game, you can see I'm trying to harass Freddy Gambino here on the fantastic new Greystone skin. Trying to harass him as much with our basic attack. Basic attack, really nothing special. Doesn't deal much damage, but it is a little bit hard to land. It's a very quick, it's a very front-loaded basic attack. Like, it happens really quick. So it's a little bit, it takes a little bit of getting used to. So always trying to harass the offlaner as much as possible. Only really harass them when you have about two enemy minions left in the wave. That way they die quickly, you're not taking much damage, and you can just really kind of harass them a lot. Now, the first ability that I went for, as you can see, we're level 2 now. We have 2 abilities. The first ability we went for is probably the most defining nature of FaZe, and that is her telekinetic link. What her telekinetic link does is it puts you a link, as you can see here, with Observation 1. Somebody I know actually in real life here. Great to see him here. On an allied hero. that you can then pull towards you. You can pull them towards you as long as the link is active and you have vision of them. I'm not sure if that's exactly it, because I have pulled people through through fog walls, and then sometimes I can't. It may be bugged. I'm not sure, because it's been really weird how it's been working. But every 12 to 9 seconds, depending on his level, you can pull them towards you and give them and yourself bonus health regen on ability cast. So you can get anywhere from 30 on level 1 all the way up to 75 bonus health regen for 2 seconds. So basically it's anywhere from 60 to 150 health that you give to you and your target when you use abilities. So that's very important, so that you can in some way use your abilities to heal your allies. Now the rest of your abilities are very, very important, so you don't necessarily just spam your abilities for that healing. It's just kind of a part of her kit. So just know that you don't really spam abilities to use this part of Telekinetic Link. It's just kind of helpful when you do. Plus, a big part of Telekinetic Link is that it transfers your health regen onto your linked target. So anything that gives you health regen, it also goes onto your target. So we'll talk more about that later, because there's some interesting interplay between some cards like the Circlet of Health. The second ability that I get here is our our Energy Lance. And that was the one that you saw me using that went like kind of like a Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha or something like that. What Energy Lance does is deals a little bit of damage, 8 to 23 damage every quarter second. And it's really not that much damage because it's 0.1 power scaling. But what it does is it adds a slow. Every time you hit the enemy, it's a stacking slow of 35 movement speed. Which, if you get 8 stacks off of the slow on your target, it culminates into a 0.75 to a 1.5 second route. So you channel it for 3 seconds, I believe, or 4 seconds, and you hit at a quarter. You hit 4 times a second. You need to hit your target 8 times, so for a grand total of 2 seconds of hitting your target, then they become rooted. Now it has an incredibly far range, so you can you can sometimes secure kills, but mostly secure long range slows on targets that are getting away, or short range slows on heroes that are trying to go after your allies. So it's a very interesting ability that you can actually use later on with an interesting card that we'll talk about later. Now the third ability that we get here, it's up to you. Against this Greystone, we don't end up pressuring him too much, so maybe the Flare would have been a better thing to go for, but I think the Lance was the best option. Their Q ability is her Psychic Flare. What this is, it deals 75 to 240 damage with 0.8 power scaling, so it actually does deal, it has a potential to deal a lot of damage on both you and your linked target. So you can potentially get 2 blinds, 2 instances of these damage off when you use this ability. It's a 12-second cooldown. Fair, it's okay. You can definitely use it. And it blinds for 1.5 at level 1 to 3 seconds at level 4. It's significant. That is a long time for somebody to have a completely whited out screen. So the potential there is really quite good. This ability, boy, if you can use it at clutch moments to really disorient your enemy, you can change the tide of any engagement super easily. So that is the third ability that I get in here. Probably most of the time, probably going to be the ability you get a lot of the time as well. Now, in terms of upgrading your abilities, you can see here that I went for my Telekinetic Link as what I upgrade. Now, why is that? Simply because it reduces the cooldown, which it certainly on these long prolonged team engagements, which I am noticing happens more now, that couple seconds really actually comes into play. It really, really does. Plus, it increases the health regen on ability cast by a fair amount, by 50%, going from 30 to 45, and then to 60, and then 75. That I think is my priority as a healer, as a support. And then I prioritize the Q, which is your blind, just because you really want to increase that duration on the blind, because oh boy, is that strong. Now the last ability that you unlock is your ultimate. It's pretty incredible, and it does a lot. I actually use it here on this Grux to increase his attack speed a ton, blind these enemies here, and I unfortunately used my pull in the wrong time, because, like I said earlier, the pull is real. The pull and I don't go well together. Her telekinetic link and I, we don't gel very well. You gotta hold it down in order to replace it on somebody else. You can just tap it to pull somebody, but if you want to change with the target that your link is on, you gotta hold it down. And sometimes if you're just looking at somebody and you tap on it, then it switches target. The telekinetic link and I really don't get along, and that's something I need to work on. But in that engagement, you saw me use my ultimate, which is really amazing. It's called Hyperflux, and it has on 130 to 110 second cooldown, so you got to use it appropriately at the right times. Gives your target you and your target and your link target 80% additional attack speed, 50% cooldown reduction, 75 mana per second for 8, 12, and 16 seconds, depending on its upgrades, and 220 max movement speed, 3 seconds that decays over that duration. It is insane, the potential synergy between Hyperflux and somebody like a Seraph, somebody like a Yin, somebody like a Sparrow. Any carry really has really good synergy. Besides Murdoch, he's probably one of the least one of the people that synergize the least with it, along with Twin Blast as well. He maybe gets a little bit more synergy with his grenades, kind of. But anyways, it is an insane ultimate that you can use fantastically. Secure early raptors with a Sparrow that you put your ultimate on, and she procs her ultimate that then, pierces through the raptors and gets insane attack speed. It is nuts. It really, really is nuts. Here you can see me not really doing a good job. I totally left my carry there totally alone. I didn't take care of him at all. I didn't have my link on him for that health regen. I didn't pull him to get into a better position. I didn't put a blind on him so that the people that were attacking him were blinded. I did nothing. That was 110% my bad there, and we could have totally saved him, totally have done much more in that engagement. Be aware of who you have your telekinetic link on. Use the blind to peel for them. Use the blind as offensively as well. Really got to be careful who you have the link on, because that can mean life or death. So here's an engagement that shows maybe why FaZe and I don't gel too well. I use my telekinetic link onto Gideon. I use my ultimate on him. Why? And then I don't even pay attention that he's getting hammered on by this Grux that I don't use my Q for. I don't help him out at all. I don't use my ult on our carry. I don't use my blind to help him out at all. You need to pay attention. I am maybe used to other supports, especially like a Richter support, and even Muriel to some degree with her slow. that's kind of, they're a playmaker. They're a playmaker, not necessarily a save your teammates support sort of a deal. FaZe is a save your support save your teammate sort of a deal. She, you know, the only other thing is her lance that is really just meant for a root. So there you could see I didn't use my ult on my carry, which I should have. I didn't use my pull to get that Gideon out of that bad black hole. I didn't blind the Grux that was wailing away on him. I'm sure you guys I'm sure you guys know what to do from that situation and what not to do. Now we can talk about cards here. As you can see, I got the Circlet Health right off the bat because I get a 2.8 health health aura, and my carry does as well. Plus, I put my link on my carry, which also puts my 2.8 on him. So basically, my carry gets 2 times the value of Circlet of Health. Now, then we went into a ward just because you need that ward to get vision and stay safe. And then I went back and upgraded my Circlet of Health. What that does is it grants that global aura, which stacks. It actually does stack. So I get 2.8 the local, he gets 2.8 the local, and I give that local to him. So now he has 2.8 health regen stacks. Then I get the global, which is also placed on him, so now he has 3 and I have 2. But that global also puts on him, so that because I'm transferring mine to him, so he gets 4 stacks of 2.8 health regen just from a Circlet of Health alone, not even taking into consideration that the global aura affects the rest of my team, and the local one affects any other allies are there. This was a terrible decision of me to go strolling through the enemy jungle, thinking I'm invincible and that nobody's on the map. So not only does Circlet of Health have fantastic value, I think it's astronomical the value that it has. Then you have some options afterwards. So in this game, you see me going for the Quenching Scales because, as you can see, there's a lot of team fights. So Gift of the Rains provides you fantastic health regen. There's 2 of them in here for you and your link target. In this case, there was a lot of team fights. We were grouping up a lot. Our safe lane went down very quickly. So Quenching Scales all the way. Plus that mana regen really helps you and your allies as well. Then I get the Chronotonic. That's just a consumable you can get in there. I actually really suggest getting the Chronotonic because you can use your Chronotonic at the beginning of an engagement. As you see me here, I use my ultimate on our carry here, or actually on our steal here, so that he can frontline. You can see it just go into town. And again, I forget about my carry. Don't forget about your carry. They are a lot of damage, even at the 22-minute mark here. You have to do it. I don't know why I used my ult on the steal. I was really fixated on providing our steal the cooldown reduction for his ult. I was really focused on that for some reason, and I shouldn't have. I should have just been giving my carry the hyperflex and protecting him. I'm not really sure what I was thinking there. So you guys have to protect your carry. Use that blind to disorient the enemy team that are attacking your carry, to save him, and just play smart. You are there to babysit, to really protect your carry. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't put your link on anybody else, and maybe that you shouldn't even use your hyperflux on anybody else. You should. And a good FaZe player will know when to switch your link to other targets and pull them to safety. A good FaZe player will know. And that's just gonna take time. Now, the mechanics of actually doing that, like I said, is tricky. I'm having a tough time with the whole transfer it in the heat of the battle and not accidentally pulling, etc., etc. So that is going to be a good phase player. So using the blind at the appropriate times will also be a very, very important part of a phase player. So here I use the blind here. I don't even think it worked on the enemy Revenant, which I was going for. And here you can see I use my ult on the Grux. Again, I'm not sure why I chose to use it on the Grux. Maybe I'm thinking in the early game, well, it's not even the early game anymore, they're going to deal more damage. And then I don't even go there. I use my blind too late to help out my carry. I don't have my link on him. This is going to be a lot of what not to do. And as you know what, I think that has great learning potential as well. If you guys can see what doesn't work, you know, it will really, really help you. So you can also see that I got Barrier of Will because all of this grouping up. You can see we have little towers now. We're going to be grouping up with our team a lot. It is getting to the late game here where that Barrier of Will is going to have a lot of value. In this game, simply went for the big team fight cards here, the Quenching Scales and the Barrier of Will. Now, the decision to engage here super duper hard, that is questionable, but the engagement actually goes quite well. I used my ult on the steal because I think, you know what, I think I remember that we were like, the Murdoch and phase synergy is really not there, so I might as well use my ult on the steal, I guess. We actually go in, we actually get quite a bit. I use my Quenching Scales at a pretty good time to heal that steal up. I use my Barrier of Will, and then I kind of forget about Observation here, going in the backline to help out the Grux. I kind of forget about him again, man. I really got to work on that. I get a good pull off, get another good pull off here to bring him back to safety, and I go back in to help out my Grux. Here, the blind, you can see me using the blind there to kind of help heal for my Grux, and there's not really much that this 2 can do to me now, and we kind of get away. So we definitely came out of that engagement with more kills than deaths, so it was a good engagement. We got a little bit of damage here on the tower, but definitely not the cleanest engagement ever. So you can see there, being a little bit better. I'm a little too kind of aggressive as a phase support, and I think you gotta just play safer. At this point, we go into a Gift of the Rains because I'm feeling like my individual target healing is kind of not there. So we go into this Gift of the Rains. I am almost thinking of taking out the basic Chrono and just placing it in for the lesser health. Our mana is just fine. So at this point, we just want some... I wanted some health, but then after that engagement, I was like, ooh, no, I need better single target healing than that. Let's get the Cast Converter. What this does gives you 47.5 health regen for 10 seconds. That 47.5 is also placed on your target, so this is basically just straight up 475 health that your link target will get along with you as well. So great individual healing for Cast Converter. It's something that is absolutely fantastic. The thing about it is, though, you need to be high hero level so that mana just doesn't completely drain your reserves. Now we also get Thermobond because we're getting focused down all right, and I really want that. What is the counter to phase is either being out of position, but being made to be out of position through crowd control, stuns, roots, stuff like that. So a Thermobond is going to work really, really well. There is a little bit of a engagement here. We do get the pick. I choose to actually help Cruod, and I'm like, no, re-engage, man. I can heal you. So I'm gonna save my Cast Converter. Yeah, we can win that engagement. And I'm like, ooh boy, let's go. Look at that healing going off. There is that Cast Converter going to town. 475 health is really good. I pull Observation there to stop him, being in melee range from the Greystone, and this is a pretty good engagement. I use my Quenching Scales here on a Grux to heal him a bit. I use my ultimate. I don't know why. Should have been at the beginning of that engagement. Again, guys, FaZe and I need to practice where they're much more. Here, I pull quad here to get away, to give him a little bit of health. Again, trying to be a little bit more helpful. I've kind of learned my lesson this game, and I didn't really use my blind. At this point, I'm trying to get Wolf there, but as you can see, it didn't really work. He was in range, but I didn't hold it down. You gotta really get used to the right click. I think I've beaten that dead horse enough. It's really finicky, at least for me, the link, so you just gotta be careful. Here, I could certainly use Cast Converter. There's no reason why I can't. And there I am pulling observation there to get away. We do get away. Nice clean escape. As I'm starting to figure out my role here in this match. So when you have the advantage, or you're not necessarily needed in the healing role, you can provide utility. The compounded the 2 slows there really helped out with that Gideon ultimate. We get a double kill and head out for this Greystone. Energy Lance, fantastic potential there with that long range slow that I do use here to make sure that we really kind of get this Greystone. And I pull away quad there to make sure I'm pulling away our Gideon so that he's not kind of right in his face. Really making sure that I provide that utility so that my allies don't take unneeded damage. So this is actually a pretty good engagement here, as I actually focus on observation. Look at this, how I use my Quenchy Scales and my Barrier of Will there to completely mitigate a lot of part of that damage there. He is healthy, I'm focusing on him down, but unfortunately our Grex there went in the back line and completely obliterated. Here's my E to make sure that we get this. I go on Arlorn Wharf there and use my Q. Unfortunately the blind wasn't enough for the enemy Revenant. I think it was just blind firing at that point, and was able to just get the kill anyways. So we get a kill. We defend our inhibitor against the enemy team. I did a much better job there protecting our carry. Good use of the Barrier of Will, good use of the Quenching Scales and the Cast Converter to keep them healthy. And at this point you can see here that I am upgrading the Barrier of Will for that tankiness and for that passive, and just for health on the Lord's Ward. You gotta get that health first to really increase your EHP. Unfortunately, it's too much. Too many misplays on my part, you know what, having a really tough time with FaZe. Again, the rest of the deck there that you didn't see was the Tainted Magic that was coming a little bit later once we had this health, all of this health here on this Lord's Ward. Then we would have started to get maybe some of this barrier and then the Tainted Magic. That's definitely last, as it just provides you with a little bit of damage, which the whole thought is that if you can get a nice Energy Lance, just spread it across the entire enemy team for kind of the whole duration. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of health. You're just shaving off the enemy team just like that. The potential there, really, really interesting, as fantastic idea that I actually really quite like. So as you can see, all the barrier on the thermal bond, all of the health on the Lord's Ward, and that is the build, guys. Remember that there is the optional Teleblink, Overflowing Gifts, the Clear Heart. You can basically just get rid of that, as Math video coming out soon. It's just not worth it. So what I would recommend, keep a fully upgraded Gift of the Rains here. Keep a fully upgraded Gift of the Rains and the Circlet of Health for as long as possible. You really need that health regen in order for that telekinetic link, and you know, you and your carrier, you and your linked target to get really a lot of the benefit that FaZe provides. So keep Gift of the Rains, this one here, and this Circlet of Health for as long as possible. Try to trade it out till you have no other options. Really try your best, as the Cast Converter Barrier of Will, Quenching Scales are definitely really good options. So Thermobond, Barrier of Will here, Tainted Magic, Quenching Scales, and Lord's Ward. Please, ladies and gentlemen, like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of FaZe. What do you guys think of this deck, and what do you guys think of my playing with FaZe? I'm having a tough time with her, trying to really just get the feeling. Like, when do you use her abilities? What do you use when? Really having a tough time. Hopefully you guys learned what not to do, especially from this guide. Please subscribe if you guys enjoyed this or if you found it useful, so I would really, really like to do it for you again in the future. Till next time, like always, stay optimistic and positive.